Hey folks, this is Kevin Miles from BeachLogic. I wanted to make a video today. I actually, one of my producers had been after me about making some sort of video to talk about this interview with Alex Jones and T.I. that went down recently, about a week ago maybe. And so anyway, I finally had a chance to watch it, and I was just going to give you kind of a review of it and a little bit about my background. I might have a different perspective because of a lot of things. Some of it could be age, but the other thing is I grew up living all over the country. I went to junior high school in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, which probably is a lot more like Atlanta, Georgia in terms of culture than, say, Texas, where Alex Jones is from. So there's a certain culture in Texas, there's a different culture in the South. And, and that's obviously true. I mean, I've lived in New York, I've lived in Boston, I've lived in California, I've lived in South Africa. People have different cultural lenses. And I've also, most importantly, to me, I went to school in Kansas. And Kansas is a very interesting place. I mean, they have predicted the next president going way back. The way Kansas goes, that's usually what winds up happening in the country. And it's interesting because a Democrat just became the governor in Kansas, which is, Trump carried Kansas too. So this whole issue of culture and how people see things. In the Midwest, there's an overarching value about honesty, about saying what you mean and meaning what you say. In the South, how you say it, if you hurt someone's feelings, if you disrespect this, it's the whole idea of, in my mind, I mean, in the South, manners kind of goes, people put manners ahead of if something's right or wrong, if it's true or false. Manners kind of trumps all of that, in my mind, and just from, I went to Morehouse, I just know, man, I've been around Southerners, and when I hear this conversation between T.I. and, first of all, let me give them both credit, because these are two people who, in my mind, whatever they're doing is because they think it's the right thing. Whatever they're doing is because they want to make America better. I really respect T.I. for even, there's nothing wrong with challenging any authority to say, hey, what are you doing for all the people? I think that's fantastic. There's no question that Alex Jones has been on the cutting edge of trying to expose stories that the mainstream media didn't want exposed. So you have to give him credit. And you got to give them both credit for sitting down and talking, not past each other, but literally, a couple of times it looked like they were, because they really need more time. They need to spend a weekend together on a regular basis so they can build a relationship and really get to know each other better, and see where the other party's coming from, And, T.I. is a guy who, from my perspective, I can tell that he's extremely smart. I'm talking about pure IQ. He's a smart guy, but he is also not classically trained, classically educated. I hope I don't piss anyone off by saying it's just the truth. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm simply saying that he's speaking from his perspective, given the lens that he has, that he's developed over his lifetime, and I think Alex is doing the same thing. But you just got to give them both credit for sitting there. So let me just tell you why I think they're missing each other. When you hear T.I.'s criticisms of Trump, first of all, he's already made up his mind. Trump is bad. And I think that part of how he made up his mind is how he sounds to the Southern ear. Shithole countries, this, that, the other. I have a different perspective. Okay, I'm a business guy. I studied finance in college. I did the Wall Street thing. I did the Silicon Valley thing. I did the international business and Africa thing, and I read every single I read every book Trump ever wrote, because we all did during that time. This was before he was the worst person in the world. This is when he had a lot of black friends, and he was writing excellent business books. But now all of a sudden, he's persona non grata, and really it's because he's not serving empire. If you look at if you look at CNN, MSNBC, if you watch a lot of that, you're gonna reach a conclusion that Trump is bad. But if you look at who's actually shooting at him, and if you knew anything about who was shooting at him, you would pause a little bit. And I think, in a way, maybe Kanye is doing that, even though he seems to come from this place of, because everything he's talking about is how something is said. He's not really talking about who he's replacing, who he's fighting, what was happening before him. His analysis is very shallow in that perspective. Because if you talk about $6 trillion of money spent and 500,000 lives dead, I don't really give a shit how somebody sounds. I don't care how polite they are or not polite they are. I care about like those 500,000 people not dying, and that $6 trillion not being spent, which could be spent on this country. I'm not gonna get bogged down in, well, he said this about, because that's how Wall Street people talk. That's how entrepreneurs talk. In fact, that's how T.I. talks. When T.I. is doing his thing, and he's doing his thing with whoever he's doing it with, if he's talking to Killer Mike, or he's talking to one of his staff or one of his business partners, he's just using regular. If he ran for office too, there would be people who have a lot of stuff to say about, well, why did he say it this way? Why did he use this term? Because because we all come at life from the experiences that we have. But we need to raise, and let's elevate the conversation a little bit more. What is the meaning of what you're doing? I don't believe that. I believe that Trump has racial biases, and I think everyone has a racial bias, and I'm not forgiving him for that. I'm not saying that that's okay. I'm saying that I'm really more concerned. I'm concerned with the biggest issues first. If I thought he was a racist for a minute, I'll be over there with T.I. saying, he's I would say he's not redeemable, but I really don't believe that. I think everybody can be redeemed, And I see what Kanye sees, to be honest with you. And I followed Alex Jones for a long time too, because it was the only place to get truth. You could get a hell of a lot more truth on Alex Jones. He's with all of his antics, with all of its sensationalism, with whatever it was that, a lot of women don't like watching Alex Jones because he yells, he goes off, he rants, and then a lot of women, they just don't like the vibe of that. And I understand that, But anyway, back to T.I. And because T.I. was actually able to say, I do appreciate that you talked about the Tuskegee experiment and what that did to black people. You don't see anyone talking about that. I mean, yeah, sure, that one's kind of mainstream now. But I'm talking about when it was breaking and nobody would cover it. That's when Alex was covering it. You can work with someone like that because you can sit down and have the dialogue like they had, and I think that something came out of that. I mean, something positive. First of all, they're cross-pollinating audiences. That's great. Because a lot of people think Alex Jones is some sort of white supremacist. It's not true, but it's the way that he's talked about by people like, I don't want to name their names, the mainstream media. The way they talk about Alex Jones is not what I watched him for, because especially even he would tell the truth about Bernie Sanders when the other people wouldn't. You should just look for truth. It doesn't matter where it's coming from. It doesn't matter if the person's black, white, green, yellow. Mainstream media, if it's somebody in their bedroom talking. It doesn't matter. Is it true? We need to align to truth. And, I see that happening in T.I., and he's a really smart guy, so I think he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out. Right now, he's sort of like, he can't figure out. He just knows that there's a lot of villains in this world. He's concerned about his community. He's concerned about his people. And I really take my hat off to him for that. And I think if he just broadens his perspective in terms of the kinds of people that he's talking to, and I think the process of what they were going through, tell me why you believe what you believe, and I'll tell you why I believe what I believe. That's a good start. That's a great start. But you got to really listen. You can't have your mind made up, You can't really have your mind made up before you get in the discussion. You need to have an open mind, and you need to have good logic and good reasoning. And I was really impressed with T.I.'s, so when he made the point that either the man is really brilliant, in which case you can't let him slide for all the stuff he's saying because he must know what he's doing. It's a very good point. Especially when he couldn't remember about the KKK, he couldn't remember who the KKK was. And then they surfaced all these videos of him showing. And I think that some of that is a function of people who have to be on all the time. Sometimes they're going to put their foot in their mouth. I mean, if the camera is on you 24 hours a day, you're going to say something you don't mean at some point too. And I'm not making excuses for him. Anybody who watches mainstream media, I made a comment today on Mark Lamont Hill. I follow him on Facebook. And he posted an article about Kanye going to Joel Osteen's church. And my comment was, and I'm going to tweet this, my comment was, good for Ye. He's taking truth on the road. I don't care where he's taking the truth. It's truth, and he's taking it with him. Especially if you think Osteen is suspect, then why wouldn't you want Ye to go there with the truth? The truth doesn't need to go where it already is. It needs to go where it isn't. So, but the other thing to say about him going to Osteen's church, and so this is what I said. I said, good for Ye. He's taking truth on the road. And then I said something else, which some people will get and some people won't get it. I said, from inside the Matrix, Kanye looks crazy. And everybody started commenting on it. They commented with either laughs or the angry face. They were really telling on, they were saying, I'm inside the Matrix and Kanye looks crazy. And I get it. The same thing. From inside the Matrix, Trump is the worst person in the world. But when you really listen to what he's talking about and what he's trying to do, and when you think about what he's actually doing, because the empire that he's trying to fight and try to change, it's been developing over thousands of years. It's not the kind of thing that because you're elected president, all of a sudden you're going to be able to wave a magic wand. Because most presidents just serve the empire. Most presidents are not really trying. And when they serve the empire loves them. The media praises them. The media says how great they are. Never mind what's actually happening. Never mind the fact that 500,000 people are being killed for stupid wars that cost $6 trillion. Killing all of these people, and for what? The media's not going to talk about that. As long as the empire is doing that, whoever's in that empire seat called the presidency, as long as that person's down with that program, they're cool with them. But if they try to change that and they say, hey, maybe we can do this a different way, maybe we can create jobs here, and maybe we can use our trade policy to make sure that jobs are not leaving this country at some high pace. You got to get a more sophisticated analysis than he said shithole countries. That's not good enough. That's how Wall Street people talk. They're uncouth. They're crass. They could be misogynistic. They could be bigoted sounding, and all of that's bad. But what's worse than that is 500,000 people dying and $6 trillion being siphoned off of the American people so that people don't have health care, education, and homes. That's even worse. So, it's just, you just got to have a more. So anyway, hats off to Alex Jones. Hats off to T.I. for even sitting down and having the conversation. Do more of that. Bring your audiences together. Let them do more of that. Have a conference, for crying out loud. Get together. Because that's where we're all Americans. We're all in the same, just like Dr. King said. Either we will learn, to get along together as brothers and sisters, or we'll just perish as fools. So anyway, that's my that's my 2 cents on T.I. on his wonderful podcast called ExpediTIously. What a cool name, great brand, love it. And the same thing with Alex Jones, who's somewhat in the wilderness right now. I mean, he was really attacking the empire, man, which is in all of our benefits. I mean, he was telling the truth. We're in a time where telling the truth is a radical thing. It's a revolutionary, just to tell the truth. And he's been on the forefront of that for a long. It doesn't mean he always gets it right. But when you see someone building a business direct to consumer the way he did, fueling it on those vitamins and various things, which, also everything he does, it seems like it's sincere, and the fact that T.I. is willing to sit down and talk to him, it just shows a lot of courage on their part. And I think that they're both patriots, and I respect that, so anyway, that's my 2 cents. That's my cultural interpretation. Some of it is just, to the Southern ear, Trump sounds like he's the worst one in the world. To that ear, that's just, it's all about decorum. It's about polite. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Yes, sir. No, sir. Never mind that the person could be lying out of their neck. In the South, that's okay, as long as you did it in a polite way. Where I come from in the Midwest in Kansas, and nobody cares about all the superfluous stuff. Is this person honest? Are they telling the truth? And even if you say something I don't like and it's true, I'm cool with that, because at least I know what I'm dealing with. But in the South, it's just, it's just something that's just totally different. It's all about, it's just how it sounds. And maybe that's because when you had slavery in the South for so long, a lot of just, the rules were just different. People had to appear polite even when they weren't, So anyway, if you haven't watched the video, check it out. Go on ExpediTIously, check out T.I.'s video, and let's hope they do more like that. Good stuff. Bye.